Today we're going to work on the mid-unit 3 reteach. This is for Algebra 1. So first we're going to start off. This says the graph shows that the cost of renting a hall for special events. There is a one-time fee for the rental plus a fee per person. This is asking what does the y-intercept represent and what does the rate of change represent. It's not wanting us to solve it, it's just wanting for us to describe the cost or what the intercepts mean. So this number right here, this is my y-intercept. So the cost of renting the hall is $200. And how many people do we have for $200? We have nothing. So this y-intercept is always the beginning, it's always the initial, it's always where we start for real world problems. So the y-intercept at $200 that's the cost of the hall. With no people. It's an empty hall, okay? So what does the rate of change represent? Well, remember, the rate of change is another word for slope. So this slope, as we're rising, as we're running, we know that slope has to deal with our y, our change in y over our change in x. So we're not going to find it here, but we're going to discuss what it means. So what's really important is finding what your x and y axis are. So as I go up, it's the cost. So the cost goes up as the number of people go up. So my rate of change is dealing with the cost of renting the hall depending on the number of people. If we wrote this in one sentence, it would be the cost of renting the hall per the number of people. For question number 2, we're just trying to find some attributes. We're going to find x-intercept, y-intercept, what's the slope, and then write the equation. So first of all, we're going to put points on our x and y-intercept. So this is our x-intercept because it crosses the x-axis, and this is our y-intercept because it crosses the y-axis. And luckily, those are both on a corner, okay? So that's going to help me with my equation and my slope. So this point, my x-intercept, x is -3. For every x-intercept, my y is 0. For y-intercept, my x is 0, and then I come down here, and my y value is -6. Now, because those are corner points, I can count rise over run. Now, this graph, remember, we read a graph from left to right. We always read a graph. This graph, as you can see, the graph is going down. So from left to right, how many down, how many over? Now, you can choose any points that go on a corner. I chose my intercepts because they were pretty points. So this went down 6. Remember, your rise and your rise or your up and down is what goes first on top of the equation, okay? And then I'm going to run 3. So if my slope is going down 6 over 3, I can reduce that, and I'm actually going to write it as a -2. You must reduce it, okay? For slope-intercept form, I need the slope. So I need that number, and then I need my b value, which is part of my y-intercept. So in slope-intercept form, y equals -2x with the y-intercept at the end. Question 3, okay, write the equation. So when we're writing an equation from a table, the first step is to find the slope. You can choose any 2 points to find the slope. It doesn't matter. I'll go ahead and choose the bottom 2. So the equation for slope is y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. So here we have y1, here we have y2, x1, x2. So my slope is equal to y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. I get 1 over 2, which that is my most reduced fraction. I'm going to go ahead and leave it as a fraction. I could put 0.5, but it's okay either way. Remember, I need 2 things to write my equation. I need my slope and I need my y-intercept. The y-intercept is where x equals 0. And where x equals 0, the number next to it, that y value, is my y-intercept. So after you find your slope for this problem, luckily you can use your table, and your table shows your y-intercept, again, where x is 0. And that is your equation in slope-intercept form. The next problem, this just wants both the equations, and y equals mx plus b. So there's 2 important things you need for writing an equation. You need the slope and you need the y-intercept. Okay, we typically find the y-intercept first because the y-intercept will be where the graph crosses the y-axis. So my b value is a 3. Now my slope, I'm going to pick a point that goes through another corner, and preferably you would pick 2 points just to double check. Okay. And you always start with your left point to your right point. How do we get here? Okay, so start on the left. How do we get here? Well, we went down 1. So whenever we're going down, this is a negative. And then to the right, 4. Let's try it again. Down 1 to the right, 4. So my slope is down 1 over 4. It is negative 1/4. So put those two things into my equation. The slope always has an x, and the y-intercept comes at the end. For the next question, my y-intercept is 3 again. But I go find a corner point, find another corner point. Let's check. So again, from left to right. So from left to right, this graph is going down. So down over, down 1, 2, 3, 4, down 4 over 1. What is negative 4 over 1? Negative 4 over 1 does simplify to negative 4. So these equations are very, very, very much like each other. We want you aware at what a 1/4 looks like compared to a 4. So that is a negative 4x. So this was going down 4 over 1. So it's negative 4 over 1. The difference here is going down 1 over 4. Okay? Question number 5. In order to join an online learning community, there is a $20 startup fee and a $5 monthly fee. Write and graph an equation in slope-intercept form and explain what they mean. So no matter what, even if the day I just signed up for this learning community, it's going to cost me $20. So at 0 months, it's going to cost me $20. That is my startup cost. No months, nothing. Day 1, I pay $20. Now every month there's another $5 fee. Now every month it's going to cost me $5 more. So this is a running total for the whole year, how much it's costing, not how much 2 months. You know, when I say my slope is going to be 5. Okay, please be careful here. Look at my spacing. These are going by 10. So when I say we're going up by 5, we are only going to 25. Okay, so we are going up to $25. So after 1 month, I've spent $25. After 2 months, I've spent $30. After 3 months, I've spent $35. Okay, hopefully you get the hang of it. Okay. Again, this is your running total for the year. You're not saying that 4 months is going to cost us $40. We're saying that after 4 months, we've already spent $40 for this program. My equation is mx plus b. My slope is 5 per month. Remember, the slope is per month, per something. And I'm going to add that startup fee. Okay, and the slope represents how much money I'm paying per month. Babysitting. Okay, so for babysitting, Maricela charges a flat rate fee plus a fee per hour. The values in the table represent the linear relationship between the number of hours she babysat and the amount of money she earned. Which statements? Okay, this being plural means that you could have more than one right answer. Okay, so I look at my answer choices and I'm looking, okay, they're looking for slope and they're looking for y-intercept. Well, y-intercept is where x is equal to 0. So between these two questions, where x is equal to 0, D is a correct answer. And it could be the only one, but we're going to keep going. We're going to check if we can find the rate of change. So rate of change would be pick any 2 points, and I'm being difficult. I'm going to pick the bottom 2. So if you're ever finding rate of change or finding slope, you get to pick your ordered pairs. I went ahead and picked those 2. So y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. You get 14 over 2, which does reduce to 7. So my slope, which is also called a rate of change, is also correct. So find slope, find y-intercept. Question number 7. Whew! Okay, this is just asking for slope. We're going to fall back on our slope equation. Slope equals y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. So we're going to call one of these ordered pairs 1, We're going to call the other ordered pair 2. Okay, so y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. I know we have a lot of double negatives, so double negatives become a positive. 15 plus 7, and then negative 16 plus 5. We do want to reduce this. 22 divided by negative 11 is negative 2. Okay. That's it. Okay. Here I know that we had some issues on the test with the standard form. This is standard form, which really helps us find the intercepts. I would definitely graph what you find. There's 2 ways to do this. We're going to go ahead and we're going to set it up. You could solve this for y. So if you're kind of stuck, solve it for y. But I'm going to go ahead and say that if I cover up the y value, then I have negative 6x is equal to 30. And that's how I'm going to find my x-intercept. Now to find the y-intercept, you cover this up. You cover your x value up. So 10y equals 30. So we're going to go ahead and solve both of those, okay? So to solve for the x-intercept, we divide both sides by negative 6. And 30 divided by negative 6 is negative 5. The x-intercept has an x value, but it has a 0 for y. Okay, and I plotted that point right there. Now the y value, I divide both sides by 10, and I get that y equals 3. Now this is 0, 3. As you can see, this graph is positive. And guys, if you have whole number intercepts, guess what? Here is going to help me with my fraction. I know that it's going to be a 3 and a 5. I just have to decide if it's positive or negative. So, up 3 over 5. We read from left to right, and it's going to be our rise over our run, and that is my answer. Okay, be careful with your signs. I'm noticing that when kids see the negative 5, they're already assuming that the slope is going to be negative. That did not determine my slope. The graph was going up 3 to the right 5, which means that this graph, the slope was positive. That goes through a corner. Okay, so here we're just given a graph, and we just have to find slope. Guys, all you have to do for this is find any 2 corner points. Okay, so let's look at that. I'm not going to pick my intercept on this one because look at that. That's not going through a corner, so I'm not going to pick it. Okay, so pick numbers that go through a corner. That goes through a corner. That goes through a corner. Okay, so rise, I'm reading from left to right, so this is positive. How many up? How many over? Check it again. 1, 2, 3, up 3, over 2. All you have to do is count rise over run on this, and you get 3 over 2. Which graph represents this? Okay, so in our mind, we process in slope-intercept form. This equation is not in slope-intercept form, so our goal is to convert this to slope-intercept form. This number right here, this is 4 multiplied by y. The inverse operation is to divide by 4, because I want that to become a 1y. But if I divide that by 4, I must divide this by 4 and this by 4. There is slope-intercept form. Please find this y-intercept first. Y-intercept, y-intercept, y-intercept. Okay? This means already cross off D. We can't use it. Now, only one of these graphs left between these two have a negative slope. Negative slope. This graph has a negative slope going down 5 over 4. Okay? Again, down 5 over 4. My answer is A. And the last question for this reteach, okay? So I'm noticing a lot of students don't. Honestly, the rise and run, even though it should be easier, if you're struggling with it, then don't worry about rise over run for this problem. They gave me the 2 points. So they gave me negative 4, negative 8 right here. And they gave me 4, 2 right here. Guys, I can do y2 minus y1. over x2 minus x1. If that is easier for you, then please do that. y2 minus y1. 10 over 8 does reduce. You must have the most reduced form. It is 5 over 4. How can I check it? Start down here. Up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over 1, 2, 3, 4. Up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over 1, 2, 3, 4. It's good, okay? And my y-intercept is that point right here, so that's a -3. All you need on this one was the slope and y-intercept, no equation needed. So hopefully this video helps you reteach. Feel free to talk to your teacher about when you can retest, and good luck.